It's Microtech Knives and Tony Marfione, and Heretic Knives and Tony Marfione Jr. going head to head. Who's gonna win? Stay tuned. Hey YouTube, POV Knives coming at you with another video. You know, that was a little clickbaity of me. I'm sorry, I just want to come clean. There are no winners here. Microtech, as you guys know, has been on fire lately and killing it. They are one of my favorite brands. And Heretic Knives, which is led by Tony Marfione Jr., Tony Marfione's son, the founder of Microtech, is just as sick and somehow different and has its own flavor, which I think is really impressive. And that's the main thing I wanted to talk with you guys about today, is how the two arguably greatest OTF makers out of the US on the production side are freaking having the same name. They're father and son. They have two different companies and they are just both killing it. And yet they both do their own thing, which I think is amazing. And as a little treat, if you stay tuned, I wasn't going to show these knives. I was going to do full reviews later. I still will, but I'll just kind of leave these two here. And if you want to see them in action and see them in comparison, you can just stay tuned to the end of the video. All right. So with that said, my example here for Microtech is the Combat Troodon. This is kind of the biggest knife they make, at least until recently. It is sick. This is the Bounty Hunter edition in the Hellhound blade, which is very hard to find. And again, just extremely sick. The finishing they do on everything is great, but the Bounty Hunter versions and all the other Star Wars things that they do, I think are particularly cool. The Hellhound blade, again, very iconic Microtech. Nice jimping up top that's actually very functional. This swooping tanto is just really cool. The speed holes are awesome. Even the clip is sick. It is quite the blade. But then on the Heretic side, they just managed to do their own thing. And I think it's great. I would say the Manticore line is probably their flagship, if you will. It's like it's almost like the Ultratech for Microtech. But they do special editions all the time. And this is the 80s carbon fiber, which, you know, cue weird 80s music and pictures. If you lived through the 80s, I think you can appreciate. If you didn't live through the 80s, then you might think is a little weird. But these wild colors, it's just a cool material. I could not resist. And to kind of talk about how Heretic Knives does things different and yet on par with what Microtech's doing, you can look at the clips, 3D milled, rather than that traditional fold over that Microtech does, but I still appreciate. They put a ball in there, which is actually very functional. I usually don't like clips that have that like ball bearing thing going on, but this one works very well. They do all different types of blades, which I always love a good buoy. Kind of a trailing point, goes kind of up at the end. Nice jimping. L-Max steel, which I appreciate. One of my favorite steels, at least on the stainless side. Really, really good sculpting. Fits great in hand, no matter how you hold it. The carbon fiber is 3D, very hard to see. It's got a tiny bit of round to it. Got some finger groove action going on here. Again, on the aluminum, tiny bit of rounding. Nice milling. Glass breaker at the end that is not as obnoxious as what Microtech does, which I also appreciate. Incorporated lanyard hole, which you guys know I can take or leave. I don't really care for. But the thing that really makes them stand out, which I think is very impressive, it would have been very easy to just emulate the mechanism of Dad, right? A Microtech feels like a Microtech. I don't know if it's going to translate on camera. It fires with authority. It takes some oomph to get it out there. The Heretic knives, and they're all like this, it's stiffer at the beginning and it has a crisp, solid break. Look at that. Listen to that. Get close to the mic. Listen. Yes. Oh, yeah. Nice and crisp. It just snaps out in a way it's almost like the difference between a soggy detent see my recent Herman Knives video for a Saki detent, and a nice crisp detent like on Koenig Arius or something like that. So if, I guess you could say OTFs have a detent, they're both good, and yet they're both different, which I think is just really impressive, that it's not just basically this other guy making Microtech knives under another brand name. And in terms of that change in detent, all the models are the same. Same feeling, right, on this guy, which we can talk about later, which is a very, very sick knife in apocalyptic finish. The Glycon, very original design from Microtech. That bayonet blade with the jimping at the top, the speed holes in there. I really like the serrations here. I think it looks sick. Really cool knife. Feels the same as this Combat Troodon. And another really cool knife that I will likely film for you guys. The Cleric 2 from Heretic Knives. You take that crisp detent that Heretic Knives does and you put it on this huge ass 4-inch OTF. You add some ULTEM scales. It is amazing. Just look at the size of this thing. Look at. It's ginormous. And you can see it all going on in there, right? Can I fire this backwards to show the blade coming out? Yes. Really, really awesome makers with awesome knives. Oop. There is no winner here, unfortunately. They're just sick. You cannot go wrong. I think it's funny that the Cleric 2 can't even fit on screen. It's so big. What do you guys think? Do you have a favorite? I can't choose. I think they're both awesome. Let me know what you think. Let's talk about it in the comments. Give me a like and a sub, and I'll see you in the next video.